And you mentioned that there are some other major bills or issues going through the Senate right now, or due to go through very soon?
Well, there's two bills. There's U.S. Senate Bill 601, which is now passed out of committee. It's Senator Kay Bailey Hutchison's weather mitigation bill. It's a short bill, easy to read, but it will allow anyone to modify your weather anytime using any techniques for any purpose. And this is one bill that we need to defeat in the U.S. Senate, without a doubt, because if this bill goes through, we will have no check and balance for anything that anyone wants to do, any private company, private individual, university, the military. Anyone will be able to modify your weather without your consent or any public notification. The other bill is the energy bill, which is sponsored by Senator Kerry and Senator Boxer. It's the it's a Climate Security Act, and what it does is it sets up a cap and trade system, an unregulated one, where offsets or credits are going to be sold to polluters so that they can buy the right to pollute and keep on polluting. It's a very bad money market scheme. I'm totally opposed to this because even in California, they went and measured our trees, and they're going to be selling the credits from our trees to corporations in the United States or overseas that pollute so that they can keep on polluting. Now, what that means is that the trees take in and store carbon dioxide, and they give off oxygen. The oxygen is considered a credit. So now, money market middlemen and banks and investors can purchase tree credits, and they don't purchase the actual trees. They just purchase these credits, and then they sell them to polluters so that the polluters can offset their pollution, or our elected officials can travel in their jets like Governor Schwarzenegger in California and Speaker Pelosi. They buy these credits, and then they say, well, we've offset our jet pollution. Now, they didn't put anything in any bills to reduce the pollution of the jets that they're using. They just said that we'll buy these credits, and since we've got the money, we'll enrich the middleman, and we'll buy the credits so we can keep on polluting. So the cap and trade provision of the bill is absolutely terrible. If you want to reduce pollutants, you just have the EPA set standards, find the polluters immediately. If they pollute, use the money for alternative sources of cleaner energy, and it could start right away. There wouldn't have to be this 10-year, 15-year delay while these credits are being sold back and forth.
So in other words, the organic farmer down the street can sell credits for his sustainable practices, and the munitions factory up the road can continue to pollute at the same level because they're buying credits?
Yes.
Wow,
that's correct.
Yeah, it certainly isn't promoted that way, is it?
Well, it's not promoted that way, but if you go to Senator Kerry's website and you look up the bill on his website, and when you go to a summary, which there's a pollution reduction investment summary there that tells you, it's another phrase for cap and trade, but it tells you about pollution reduction investment, and it's just absolutely shocking because they really say, well, we're not going to really, we're going to ask industry to really reduce their pollution, but if they can't, we'll just sell them offsets, and they can continue to pollute. So the bill isn't going to reduce carbon dioxide, and that's the only thing. All these other greenhouse gases, and the only thing they're going to regulate is carbon dioxide. There's nothing else in the bill. They're even going to have to gut the Clean Water Act in order to sequester carbon under this plan. So we're going to lose our Clean Water Act standards because if they sequester, they know that putting carbon in the ground will pollute water supplies.
I'm on the newswithviews.com website, and I'm just rereading what you mentioned earlier about the decimation of more than 11.7 million marine mammals. Apart from the monstrous just brutality of that and the unknown effects that will have on the ecosystem, of the oceans. What's that going to do to food supplies?
Well, it would have to, when you are taking bomb blasts, submarine warfare training, above water detonations, underwater detonations, when you're putting in the whole realm of toxic chemicals, and I have a whole list, there's hundreds of them, listed on the Navy environmental impact statement. And you can look at any of their environmental impact statements, and they'll tell you that they're going to impact the turtles, the marine mammals, the fish, birds, everything. And they're going to be bombing the actual habitat so that you're going to not only hit the migrating marine mammals, but you're going to hit those that are stationary that feed migrating marine mammals. So it's an unmitigated disaster. They've already started the warfare programs in some areas in Florida. They've started them in Southern California already, state of Washington, Hawaiian Islands, Marianas Islands in the Pacific. They've got all these ranges and more planned, each with a 5-year redundant warfare testing program. I don't see how any of our oceans are going to withstand, because they're even going to be using futuristic weapon systems as well as testing ones that we already know how they work.
I would also think it can possibly or undoubtedly increase the risk of tsunamis.
I would think so, because it could trigger earthquakes. Because, for example, where I live in Northern California, we have the San Andreas and other faults. And if you start having bomb blasts over our fault lines and all along the ocean floor, very easily you could trigger an earthquake. I mean, a big one. And no one is looking at earthquake faults. Our elected officials are hiding in their offices in Washington, D.C., and not saying that they're going to have congressional hearings on this, which we're absolutely asking for now. And they're not saying that we're going to put a hold on any more of these warfare programs until we see if there's a better way to do this, or a way that we won't impact all of these fish habitats, marine mammals, everything.
Rosalind, jumping back, a thought I had also on the weather modification in the sky, the white haze and so on. Is that going to have an effect on trying to instigate solar power? Is that going to affect the rays that come through to go on the solar panels?
It already is. It would affect electric cars, and it would affect solar panels on homes. And a friend of mine in Shasta County built a model solar home, a state-of-the-art model. And they've had so many persistent jet contrails leaving these man-made clouds that at times he's 40 to 60% down in power production from these state-of-the-art solar panels. And he said it's just awful. And he said the more we keep the cloud cover, the less this method of, in other words, investment is going to work. We need direct sunlight for solar to work, or electric cars, or anything that's powered by solar. So when you start to allow, in other words, the jets to create these man-made clouds, white haze, reduce the amount of sunlight reaching the Earth, even the Navy's CARE program over you, that where they put in this aluminum oxide dust cloud, that reduces the amount of sunlight and will warm you up. And, in other words, it's going to create this cloud, which is going to reduce the amount of sunlight reaching the Earth as well. So you'll have more intense heat, quite possibly, from this. So we look at this as using our atmosphere as a physics laboratory, as one of these Navy personnel talked about, is how wonderful it is that we can go and, in other words, do all these experiments, whether we bomb the moon and maybe get the moon off kilter from its off its axis, or get it out of, in other words, circling the Earth at the same rate that it's doing. All these things, there's no public oversight right now. We have no say. We're just told, or we just see it happening,